Commissioner Archer?
I've got
9 o'clock, okay.
I got 9 o'clock.
Still no vote with High Thursday.
We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to the February 25th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Shelley Bueller, and I have the pleasure of serving as chair of the commission, alongside Commissioner Kevin Cook and Commissioner Bob Archer. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning. Good morning.
Madam Clerk, the first item, please.
Consent agenda?
Are there questions on the consent?
I'd move
agenda?
for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
New business, A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Madam Chair, this morning we have one set of vouchers dated February 24th, 2016, with the total amount of $1,694,157.41. Significant amounts in that total include $150,000 for 9/11 phone service, general expense of $1 million, which includes COP first half interest, holding accounts for $105,000, and the sheriff's office for $265,000, which is mostly new vehicles. So I've reviewed the vouchers. I have no questions, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Archer has the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Number 2, correction orders.
Do we have some of these? These are, okay, I want to make sure. I'll move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Item B, Treasurer, number 1, consider approval to reclassify 2 motor vehicle management positions.
Good morning, Commissioners. Larry Moss, Shawnee County Treasurer.
Morning.
This is a housekeeping item for with HR. In August, we reorganized in the motor vehicle department. At the time, we moved 2 employees that were on the same grade pay scale, and when the CBIZ study came out, they rated out at different grades. So in order to true that up with the current grade scales, we have to do a reclassification. This requires that we cover this with the employees involved and get their concurrence. They have, that has been covered. The concurrence letter is on file in the HR department, and we're just kind of finishing this up to get the reclassification taken care of.
Thank you. Are there questions? And is there a motion? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
It's a motion by Commissioner Archer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Number 2, consider authorization of motor vehicle funds to implement pay scale for classified permanent employees, authorized by resolution number 2015-127.
Commission, this is again motor vehicle item. As you know, you approved new pay scale for classified employees on December 31st with resolution 127. This authorizes the motor vehicle funds to pay for those new salaries. This only involves classified employees. It also includes a 3-year implementation schedule. And I would note that the 2016 numbers are solid based on your pay scale. 2017 and 2018 are based on assumptions provided by CBIZ and the Audit Finance Department, and are subject to change and, of course, approval of new pay scales by this commission.
Thank you, Larry. Are there questions for the treasurer? Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
There's a motion by Commissioner Cook.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Item C, Information Technology. Number 1, consider authorization and implementation of Contract C-55, 2016 with Alexander Open Systems to provide technical assistance during installation of firmware updates to the county server virtualization platform at no additional cost to the county.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat Oblander with the Information Technology Department. This item is for Alexander Open Systems to assist us in performing what's called a matrix upgrade to our virtualization platform. This is where we'll go in and update the firmware on most of the internal electronics inside that cabinet. There's quite a few different parts and pieces that have to be upgraded in order to update the software, put in new service patches, security patches, etc. It's a piece of housekeeping that just has to be handled every year or so on both of the platforms. We've already done this with the one platform. This is the second one that we're getting ready to do. When we purchased the platforms, we also purchased a number of hours, a block of hours for support from AOS. And what we're doing here is consuming those hours that have already been purchased. With this agreement, we're expending those dollars that we had built into the project. So that's really the item before you, is just an approval to expend those dollars that have already been banked with Alexander Open Systems. Now, if for some reason we run into a difficulty and we use more hours than what we have banked, I would probably pay for those as long as it was under the amounts agreed or allowed under purchasing provisions. If it turns out to be more, I would pause the project, come back to you for approval on that. But we're pretty confident we'll stay within the amounts that we have defined already. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Pat. Are there questions? Commissioner Archer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember when we selected AOS, it was sort of a mild controversy in selecting them. So my question to you is, have they been a good partner as far as the virtualization project goes?
Yes. I would give that an unequivocal yes. They've
Okay.
provided a lot of support to us. Our selection was borne out with the success of the implementation of the project. It went according to plan right down the line, so I was really pleased with the engineering, planning, and provisioning that they put into project management. Everything that was promised was delivered. It was delivered on time, if not ahead of time. So right down the line, everything went just as was presented to us. We got our money's worth. Subsequent to that, every time we've asked for support or help, we've gotten what we needed quickly and professionally. So I'm very pleased with the performance, and I think our selection was a very good one.
Thank you.
That's good news. Motion,
Yes, it is.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
So, motion by Commissioner Archer.
I'll
Commissioner Cook.
second, but Pat, can you talk about, I understand the last of the mainframe left the building.
Yes, we've been working diligently to remove all of the last vestiges of the mainframe, and one of the final pieces is actually hauling off the old equipment out of the server room. The last few times I've been up to the podium, my throat's been really rusty. The reason for that is every time we take up a floor panel in that room, clouds of ancient dust come billowing up out of it. And it's messy and kind of a dirty job, but it's satisfying to get to the point where we're actually pulling out all the old cables and the old equipment, getting it out for surplus. So most of that equipment is now out of there, and we're getting ready to clean out the final dust bunnies.
Yeah, I actually saw pieces of it being loaded onto a truck and
They're big
almost
chunks.
stopped to take a picture and send it to former
We're
Commissioner
way ahead.
Miller, because that
We
was a
took,
big project of his. I didn't, I did
We
not,
have
but
pictures. We have pictures.
do you?
Yeah,
You
of the
need to send
equipment.
them.
We took pictures of the last existing screens before we shut them off. It was a bittersweet moment. That machine
Oh, yeah, right.
is solid for Shawnee County. It performed flawlessly for a lot of years.
did.
And we got a lot of value out of that. So it's great to have it gone, but it was also sad to see the old girl go.
But by going to the virtualization, we're saving the taxpayers
Yeah.
innumerable
Yes.
amounts
That's
of
huge.
money,
Yes,
and
we're
we have
saving-
redundancy.
Mhm.
We have
Oh, yeah,
redundancy
it's
that we
huge.
did not have before. We can now lose an entire building, God forbid, but we've got another building that contains an identical unit that would survive that sort of a cataclysm. We did not have that before, so if we'd lost the courthouse with the mainframe in it, we would have been completely out of luck. So we've got additional redundancy. The equipment that we're on is now of a much later generation, gives us a lot more flexibility, and the talent pool available to support it is significantly wider than what we had with the mainframe. So a lot of pieces are now in play that make put us in a lot better position than what we've been in the past.
Well, thank you for your efforts on all of that. You've really done an outstanding job. So we have a motion by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thanks,
Thank you,
Pat.
Commissioner.
Item D, Emergency Management. Number 1, acknowledge receipt of report that certifies that American Medical Response is in compliance with the response parameters and requirements set forth in Contract C-428-2006 for the fourth quarter of 2015, but will be fined $690 due to being over the 15-minute mark on 11 runs in the city of Topeka.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nelson Castile Ambulance Compliance. The document in front of you certifies the compliance with the response time parameters of Contract 428-2005. I'm here to answer any questions or anything you might need.
Nelson, I think it's just important for the public to know that we have the Ambulance Advisory Board, but then we also have the Ambulance Compliance Officer that does oversee this contract and make sure that things are done properly. So I don't know if most people know that those two checks and balances are there.
Yes,
Commissioners, any questions?
Nelson, Madam Chair, if I may, I just want to make sure that I'm reading the report correctly, and just to put this out, the total emergency responses for 2015, 14,601 calls, and that's just the city of Topeka.
Yes.
And then if you were to look at the county is an additional 2,264 calls.
Yes.
So out of our ambulance service, we have 18,600 plus calls to the Shawnee County area.
Yes, sir.
And out of that, we have in the fourth quarter just a little bit. I know it's 15, but it's still late, but this does show the ambulance service is very responsive to the Shawnee County and the city of Topeka overall, outside of a couple of exceptions.
Yes, that is correct. And I'm glad that you mentioned emergency calls only. This report does not take into account the non-emergency calls. Between all of those, there's a lot more there. I only look at a few of those for certain trends, but upwards of 20,000 calls, if you count some of those non-emergency calls, if you look, is approximately what I look at on a yearly basis.
And if we were looking at the fourth quarter, which is the action that we're considering today, out of the fourth quarter, there were a total emergency responses of 3,502 calls.
Yes, sir.
And that was the city. And
Yes.
so that's out of 3,502, there were, again, 15 that were over that, or
11, sir.
11 over that 15-minute mark. And so
Yes, sir.
still, it's a lot of calls.
Exactly.
The big portion of those calls happened, they were not able to be exempted under the system overload. They happened at the last 15 minutes of an hour and at the first 15 minutes of an hour. When you get to the hour mark, the count starts over. In that half-hour period, there were times where there were 10 to 12 calls going on in that 30-minute period, but because of where the divide is for the hour, you can't exempt based on that. It's based on just that 1 hour, and that's where most of those 11 came from. And I saw no concerns with those 11. It's for the year, for the quarter, it was 0.3% of the calls, they were over 15 minutes. But for the year, total 0.2% of all the calls that they're over on 15 minutes, which is very good with the way that the system has really been getting hit with a large number of calls. And like I said, that does not include the non-emergency calls that may show up in there that are gauged according to the emergency medical dispatch cards, determining whether they run emergency or non-emergency, or whether somebody on scene, such as a first responder, upgrades or downgrades a call. And that has some significance with it. That 11 is that is a very good number for that 3,502 that they had.
Thank you, Nelson. Anything else?
I don't have anything else. Just noting the call volume for the city of Topeka and for Shawnee County, and those numbers are consistent with 2014 and 2013.
Yes, sir.
So,
Great.
thank you, Nelson, for all that you do, going through all of these records, 16,000 plus records. I have nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Roger.
a really good point to make, Commissioner Cook. I saw where the city of Topeka is looking at their fire department to expand their medical response services in a more comprehensive, I think they call it ALS.
Yes, sir.
Today's probably not the time, but I think it would be helpful to know how that might impact our ambulance service and what we're doing in Shawnee County. We need to start planning and looking at that possibility and how it's going to impact our RFP and our partners that we work with. So that's all I had, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions then? We need to acknowledge receipt. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, before we do, I know that there's members of AMR present, if there's any comments that they might have before we take any action.
Certainly.
Commissioners, John Antrim, Operations Manager for AMR. I just wanted to make sure that those numbers were pointed out. Obviously, 11 seems like a lot when it's just presented in the fashion that it has been presented. Obviously, those 11, we would look to improve that number, but like you mentioned, the system that we have here is a living, breathing system. It keeps continuing to grow and grow and grow. A lot of our planning models and staffing models are based off of data, but data can't predict the human element side of this. So we'll continue to work to be compliant. And speaking with Ambulance Compliance Officer Nelson, he let me know that he believes we've been compliant for the whole 32 years we've been here. So we'll continue to improve and to strive to achieve those numbers.
Good deal. And I think it's important, though, that the public knows there's oversight. I mean, if you're a person waiting on an ambulance, it
Right.
seems like an eternity. But we do keep track of all these numbers, and we have that oversight and work in partnership
Right.
with AMR.
Nelson does an amazing job. He's constantly in contact with me if there's an issue or concern. He has my cell phone, my email. He'll call me, and we'll address that as quickly as possible. So
Great.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here this morning, for all of you.
Thank you.
All right, I believe there was a motion by Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Item E, Public Works Solid Waste. Number 1, consider approval of request to conduct a brush grass burn training exercise at the Shawnee County District Number 2 shop facility, Auburn, Kansas, by the Auburn Fire Department.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block from Public Works and Solid Waste. Earlier this week, I received an email request from Lieutenant Billy Hester of Shawnee County Fire District Number 2. They are wanting to perform a training exercise in our District 2 shop, our road District 2 shop, our road maintenance facility that's in Auburn. We have a good plot of ground that would make it very amenable to what they are trying to accomplish. And so he made the request to see if they might be able to use it. I said that I would not be able to approve it myself. I'd have to bring it before the commission to get that approval. We have looked at it. We don't see that there would be too much issue with it as far as utilizing that site. They have said that they will have a lot of staff there for contingency purposes, and also one of their fire department volunteers is also an employee of our Public Works Department, and he will be there representing Public Works and working with the fire department at the same time. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Are there questions? This might seem a little obvious, but the burn permit would be acquired by
them, and
the fire department?
Yes, and I had replied to him and said that they would need to be
Okay.
responsible for having that
Okay.
permit.
Great, thank you.
So
look it up. I cannot say I have personally seen it though, but they are aware that they would have to be required to have it.
Responsible for that, okay.
And then I know they're planning on wanting to do this on Saturday. I think there's a weather forecast for a lot of high winds potentially. If that's the case, I don't know if they would postpone it or not, but that is a possibility.
Okay, thank you. I'll move approval of the request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Item F, Audit Finance. Number 1, update on expenditures and revenues.
There we go. Good morning. Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. I'm here for our first update of this year, the financial overview, and this is as of January 31st of this year. We will start on the revenue side. Whoa. Okay, here we go. This is moving again. I did it last time too. So we will use this one. Okay, here are the total revenue numbers for the month of January. You can see we received total revenue of $43,323,384 compared to what I had budgeted for that month only of $43,450,876. That gives us a variance of $127,000. We are a little bit under budget for that month, and I will go through the categories individually to see how that's broken down. But, you know, $127,000 compared to $43 million says we are right on budget for the month. As you can see from this chart, it's broken down in the different categories. Just as a reminder, in January, we received our distribution for the first half of the property taxes. So you can see how the property tax is obviously the largest category with the blue there. The red is other taxes. The little green sliver there is property-related fees, and the little purple sliver is charges for services, and then we have the miscellaneous revenue. So we will go on to the different categories. The first category is the property tax revenue. You will see we've received $40,491,000 compared to what I had budgeted of $40,880,000. That is, we are a little bit under budget by $389,000. And most of that is on property tax, but one thing that kind of surprised me is we have NRA rebates, which is neighborhood revitalization rebates that we pay back for people that have paid taxes in those areas. That was actually $50,000 higher than I anticipated for this first month. And it's actually $73,000 higher than last year at this time. So those neighborhood revitalization rebates, you know, are something that's alive and well. Okay, and even though we are, you know, $389,000, like I say, there again, under budget, there again, when you look at the total amount, if you look at the total amount of taxes that we expect to receive during the year, that's 0.5%. So, you know, not an alarming number that at this point in time gives me any concern. Okay, the other tax revenue, we've received $2,266,000 compared to the budget of $2,046,000. So we are $219,000 over budget on that. And most of that budget variance is actually from special assessments. In that we actually received a larger amount of special assessments than I had budgeted. And if you'll recall, last year it was the opposite. Last year the special assessments were down. So hopefully that just means people are catching up. Okay, the next is property-related fees. We've received $2,266,000 compared to a budget of $2,046,000, so a positive variance of $67,000. And most of that is mortgage registration fee. We have actually received double what I had budgeted for mortgage registration fees in January. I don't know if the weather has anything to do with that, or, just the economy, but I think that's a very good sign that we have had that many mortgages registered. Okay, the next category is charges for services. We've received $290,000 compared to $311,000, so we're $20,000 under budget, so they're again right on target. And the last category is other revenue. We've received $144,000 compared to a budget of $149,000, so they're again right on budget. Okay, this chart just shows at this point in time, since we've received half of our property taxes, or almost half of our property taxes, you can see 93% of the revenue we've received thus far is from property taxes. 5.23% is from other taxes. Property-related is 0.3%. Charges for services is 0.67%. And miscellaneous is 0.33%. And those other percentages obviously will increase as the year goes on, because we will not get another large, distribution until June. Okay, we will go on to the expenditures, unless you have any questions on the revenue side.
I do not.
Okay, our total expenditures for the month of January, $9,700,704, compared to a budget of $9,720,399. So we are actually $19,000 under budget on our expenditures for the month. So there again, we are just right on budget. You will see a big difference between this year and last year in an amount of $1,400,000. And I just want to point out why we have that difference. In January of 2015, we had 3 pay periods in that month. In this January, we have 2 pay periods. So I have made that adjustment in the budget numbers to accommodate for that in what I've budgeted. But when you're looking at the actual numbers, and especially since on a budgetary accounting basis, we are looking more at a cash basis of when that cash goes out. That's why you'll see that, and you'll see that through every category.
Okay.
So. Okay, we look at public safety. We have spent $3,042,000 compared to a budget of $3,059,000, so $16,000 variance, right on budget. There again, the variance between last year's is attributable to that additional pay period. Public health is, we've spent $2,290,000 compared to a budget of $2,283,000, $6,000 variance. But if you, and you do not see the variance in last year's. The reason we do not see a variance in that is because most of the money that we spend for public health is on allocations. So it's not, we do not have employees in those areas at the general fund level. We make an allocation to the health agency fund, and the employees are at that level, not at the general fund level. So that's why it's pretty level in this category. Administrative services, we spent $1,775,000 compared to a budget of $1,698,000. Excuse me, a $76,000 variance. There again, it's spread throughout the departments, and just a little bit here, a little bit there. But I would consider us still just right on budget. Public Works, we spent $1,230,000 compared to a budget of $1,326,000, so a $96,000 variance. We spent less than last year, but as we've talked to, especially with Public Works, scheduling and timing can make all that difference between 1 month and the next. And then we have Parks, Recreation, and Expo Center. We spent $1,361,000 compared to a budget of $1,351,000. So right on budget there, $10,000 variance. You will see it's a little less than last year. There again, the pay period makes up that difference. And we do not have any debt service in January. As you saw on today's vouchers, that will come up in February, so we will see that there. So these are the categories that we have, showing the blue is our current year-to-date, the red is the budget, and the green is last year's year-to-date. And then here are the percentages by category. Public safety, 31%. Public health, 24%. Admin services, 18%. Public works, 13%. And Parks and Rec, 14%. And as I usually comment, we are very fortunate that our public works is only 13%. If we did not have that sales tax, that percentage would be significantly higher. So, do you have any questions for me?
I do not, Commissioners. No. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Item G, County Councilor. Number 1, legislative update.
Good morning, Commissioner. Rich Eckert, County Councilor. Tuesday was the legislature. Accomplished Tuesday at 1 o'clock. That's the halfway point, and a lot of bills that haven't progressed very far, that's the day that they, for the most part, go away. There's a caveat for the most part because, as we all well know, things have a chance of springing at the end and surprising us. Speaking of that, we have 3 days of hearings set for March 8th, 9th, and 10th. The 8th and the 9th is in the Senate Tax Committee, and that will be Senate Bill 316, and that's the one that moves the tax lid up to on the 9th and the 10th in the House. It'll be House Bill 2609, and that's the bill that's authored by KAC that would repeal the tax lid. So we don't expect that one to go very far, but we have a hearing and we'll have a chance to tell our story. KAC and the League of Municipalities are going to coordinate who testifies, when they testify, and try to have a comprehensive story to tell. So we'll be involved in that, and I'll be up there those 3 days for those. The other big news that happened is that the Senate did the juvenile justice bill, the comprehensive reform bill, and there's so many things in there that will apply to what happens in Shawnee County, both to entities that we have very little to do with and some that we have a great deal to do with. It even has a chance possibly to affect our juvenile jail population in terms of reducing that. One of the things that the bill does is it reduces the amount of time that a judge can oversee a juvenile case as long as it's not murder or some very, very serious felony like that. So it's just an attempt to get these children back into their community and with the people that they might have a support system for. I know that everyone was very pleased that this passed, and my wife works on this as well. She's the Executive Director of Children's Alliance, and she was very happy. And since I live by the rule that she's always right, I'm very happy too. So we'll see how this affects us, and we'll be talking about this again up here at the Secretary of State Kobach's bill about auditing the voting machines is blessed, so it will live on. This is something that I think that we should be in favor of, and in fact Andrew Howe is and testified so forth. So if you're in favor of transparency, we're in favor of this bill. A bill that we found out about yesterday, and it is in an exempt committee, so it does live on, is House Bill 2613. Onis Lemon brought it to Commissioner Bueller's attention, and he wrote the email like, "Hey, did you see?" And it turns out that he's in fact he's the copy of the bill. So I reached out to him, and the way the bill reads is that a township has to have an audit each year. The county shall pay for the audit. Like, whoa. Your audit. So I get a hold of him last night, And he did not know that. He thought it said something else.
Okay.
And Mission Township has a $2 million overall budget, and I think they're the largest in our county in terms of budget size. And every year, they have to have an audit, and it costs $13,000 for that audit. And if you know Otis Lemon, you can imagine the amount of groaning that happens when he writes that check. I say that effectively. So he doesn't want anyone to bid on that. They have one company that bids year after year, and it's not a competitive bid, and he's called all kinds of audits and auditors, and he can't get people to bid on it. So his idea was to give the county the option of, if we wanted to, we conduct the audit of all the townships. So, congratulations. I think we have, is it 11 or 12 townships? We have 12 townships. So we would have the option of doing the audits for those 12 townships as opposed to making them pay for them. The percentage of the cost of the audit is a little bit out of proportion to their annual budget. Very big burden on them. So he was seeking to have a way to help alleviate that burden, and I did put to him that way the current legislation reads, we would pay for their audit, and he said he was going to go back and fix that. That's not what he wanted. So that's what happened yesterday. Other than that, if you have any questions, it'll really pick up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They're out of session now until next week.
Okay. Thank you, Rich. Any questions, comments? All right. Thanks.
Item H, Commission, number 1, consider approval of appointment of John W. Wiley IV to the Ambulance Advisory Board.
And I apologize. It's John Willie.
Willie.
Yes, and I've been calling him John Wiley as well, and I was corrected. So Willie.
Morning, Commissioners. Dusty Nichols, Emergency Management. Here to introduce John Willie to you. He's a new member of the county, as the new member of the county ambulance board. John, I'm going to go off this because it's reading stuff. John's a 30-year vet of Air Force and Air National Guard and served with them for a long time, so I'm pretty familiar. Work with him well. He's been around the ambulance services, health services, medical services for pretty much his entire career. Right now, he's working full-time as a session committee assistant at the Kansas Legislature, and he's also our LEPC secretary as well, Local Emergency Planning Committee. So this is John Willie.
All right. Commissioners, any questions? Or?
Very highly recommended, and so
Yes.
I make a motion to accept him to the Ambulance Advisory Board. I think that would be a great addition.
Great.
I agree, and I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer, and I agree. I've worked with you on the LEPC, and all was very efficient, and I know you'll do a great job. So all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I should clarify that he's the citizen at large.
Yes,
That's his seat.
that position. Thank you, Dusty.
Administrative Communications.
This time, anyone wanting to make announcements?
Good morning, Commissioners. Larry Law, Shawnee County Treasurer. I wanted to make you aware of House Bill 2506. I had spoken at an earlier commission meeting about this bill. This bill involves the Kansas Turnpike Authority. As you know, they have grand plans to eliminate their gates so that people don't have to slow down below 70 miles an hour to go through the toll gates. Will speed things up. This will eventually be extended to other states with agreements with Texas and Oklahoma, Colorado, whichever state, New Jersey, whatever they can extend it to, so that you can use your K-tag in other states and feel good about that. Now, that's a great plan, but there's one little piece of that that we are opposed to as the county treasurers, and that's HB 2506. And what that House bill does is it gives the Kansas Turnpike Authority the authority to stop the registration of motor vehicles if a customer owes them more than $100. Now that sounds great. We all want to catch people who run toll gates and don't pay their bill. But as county treasurers, we have some real concerns. First off, it diverts the motor vehicle resources in our offices to collect fees for the Turnpike Authority. And by the way, they are not offering any funds to pay for additional resources. So our first impulse is it's going to extend our lines as we deal with their bill collection practice. Second, it'll bring what I think are confrontations into our office. We have literally books of regs and rules that we can frustrate every customer who walks in our door. They don't want to be there in the first place, so it doesn't take much to have a confrontation in our office. And this will do nothing but create a confrontation as we refuse to renew a registration because they have to deal with the Kansas Turnpike Authority, or in the future, maybe some authority in another state. But beyond all that, I think the most important thing that you need to understand is it interferes with my ability to collect property taxes. That's our primary function, and essentially gives the Kansas Turnpike Authority or any other state that they are in agreement with or sign an agreement with first claim on any money. And while they have put a cap on that, or a lower limit of $100, the average customer who walks in into our motor vehicle department owns 1.7 motor vehicles and pays an average of $420 to us at that moment. So essentially, I would be in a position to refuse the receipt of $400 and some worth of taxes and fees on behalf of Shawnee County residents in favor of forcing them to pay $100 to the Kansas Turnpike Authority or some other state. I personally think this is kind of a crazy way to collect the taxes. There's no benefit to the direct benefit to the Shawnee County residents. We are here to collect their taxes and get those distributed to the entities that they belong to, such as school districts. And to the extent that we refuse to receipt that money, they are not going to receive it, and we're going to do that in favor of collecting fees for the Kansas Turnpike Authority or New Jersey or Oklahoma, anyone else that they sign. I think that is bad policy. It makes no sense to refuse $400 in favor of $100 that's going to go someplace else. I have personally testified against the bill. It did pass out of the committee. It is an exempt bill, so it does not go away this week. It can be worked or voted on the floor anytime before they recess. So until they leave, that bill has potential to be passed. And our only remedy at this time is to get to our local representatives and ask them to vote against the bill when it hits the floor. Again, I just don't think it makes good sense to refuse tax money in favor of collecting fees for another entity, even if it is the Kansas Turnpike Authority. So with that, I'll be glad to answer the questions you might have. It's been under the radar screen, and it sounds like a really, really good deal on the surface, and it's kind of presented that it is a necessary part of their improvements. But I think they have other ways to collect their fees other than blocking the receipt of tax payments.
Very good. Good information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eve Kendall, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. I'm just here to remind you that we're having a Project Topeka fundraising event tomorrow for lunch. We have two options for your dining pleasure. You can have the choice of a fish sandwich, chips, drink, and a dessert, or 4 beef tacos, dessert, and a drink for a mere $5. All the proceeds will go to Project Topeka. The time is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., so you can eat your breakfast late or your lunch early, whichever you prefer. And anyone that knows has ever eaten at one of our fundraising events, you will not go away hungry. So just wanted to remind you and remind all of Shawnee County staff, or even the community, they can come. It'll be in our front lobby area. I'm sure you will smell it as soon as you hit the parking lot. It's going to be a good time, so I hope to see you there.
Great. Thank you.
Commissioners. Ambulance Compliance Officer again here. I was asked to make a clarification that was in a media report in the last 24 hours relating to the funding of the ambulance service. The media release or story itself indicated that the city of Topeka pays money to Shawnee County to provide advanced life support ambulance services in Shawnee County. That is not correct. The ambulance service is paid through the Shawnee County budget through a subsidy. It's done every year just like other grant programs or social programs. There is no contribution or payment due from the city to Shawnee County to pay for those services. I did reach out to the reporter that reported that. I asked them to look at our Shawnee County Emergency Management website. There's a tab there for the Ambulance Compliance Office that details how the system works, how the budget authority works. I've also reached out to the person that gave the quote to the news reporter and gave them the same opportunity to have that information.
Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good morning. My name is Ann White, and I'm the manager of Equifest of Kansas. And that is an event that is going on at the Expo Center this weekend. We are currently setting up our little village, and it's going quite well, and we're very, very, very excited to be in Topeka. We have been 19 years in Wichita, and this is the first time that we've been to Topeka, and it's been a very smooth transition. This community and the county has been very supportive, and it's been a fabulous experience. I'd like to invite all of you in this room, and I brought some schedules to come and see what we're all about. It's a little bit different than the RV shows or the boat shows and all that stuff, and that our customers and people that come from all over the country come and stay all weekend and all day. It's not like you can just walk through and you see everything there is to see, because we have different things going on from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, and people don't want to leave because they all are going to miss the barrel racing, or they're going to miss the trick riders, or they're going to miss the ranch rodeo. And so just come out, see what it's all about, understand that to come to Topeka, we did downsize, so we were sold out several months ago. Our vendor space, we have a waiting list. We've sold every stall, we've sold every inch of the Expo Center, using every building. We've used in the whole Manor Conference Center. I'm a little concerned going from 7,000 parking spots to 2,025 parking spots here. I hope it's a problem. And I'm looking forward to figuring all that out. And again, the economic impact of all the people that are coming is significant, so I want you to remember that as well. Another thing this morning, one of the clinicians from the Chicago area, we did a walkthrough at 6 o'clock this morning, and she was already saying, this is fantastic. They do horse shows all over the country. She spent time in Vegas. She's a professional performer, not just a horse trainer. And she was already like saying, this would be a great place for us to do our Christmas show on, horseback, and we can be bringing this in, and we do all these educational things. So I feel like the exposure that we're going to get from world-class clinicians and people that are traveling in, it's going to put Topeka on the map, and it'll be a destination where people will want to also host events like this. So,
Thank you for being here this morning. We are glad you are here in Topeka and Shawnee County.
It's going to be great. I really hope you all come out and, look me up, and I'll take you on a tour, and it's going to be a great weekend.
Great. Yeah,
I'll just throw some of these on this table, and anybody else.
that would be great.
Cool.
Commissioners, anything you want
Well,
to add?
if I may,
Yes.
Madam Chair, yesterday I went to the Expo Center board meeting, and they had talked about Equifest coming here. And I guess H.R. Cook had worked for years to get it to come, and you're finally here, so welcome. We're glad you're here.
Mr. Cook, anything?
Just the economic impact, and this again highlights the need for us to continue to renovate the Expo Center, to expand the Expo Center. When we're talking about more vending space needed, more exhibition space needed, that's what the interlocal agreement calls for. And again, I hope that we can resolve the differences on the interlocal very soon, so we can move forward with the plans to expand the Expo Center.
They're
kind
great.
of like Expo Center is one weekend out of the year, but I also host other horse shows at the Expo Center, so it's not just this one event that needs it. I mean, and just like I said this morning, from these clinicians coming in and thinking, we can come here and do this. I mean, it can just be explosive.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else with administrative communications? Commissioners?
Madam Chair, I'd like to take a moment and recognize Jane Rezac, our administrative assistant. I understand that she might have a special day. And since Cindy Beck's not here to lead us,
When is that special day?
well, it might even be, is it today?
Is it
Yeah.
today? She tried to hide it really. Thank you, Commissioner Kirk. Yeah. Shall we?
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Oh, that didn't start out.
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday, dear Jane. Happy birthday to you.
Again, thank you, Jane, for everything you do.
Goodness sakes, yes. All right. Commissioner Archer.
Oh, after that embarrassment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioners, I have had conversation with Mayor Wolgast and heard back from him. He and I and Betty Greiner and their financial administrator are meeting next Tuesday to continue to discuss the interlocal, so hope we make progress on that. I have nothing else.
Executive session?
Is there a need today? No, we are adjourned. Thank you. You always try to sneak that by, Jane. Gosh dang it.